Welcome to another episode of Revive Your Health Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brandon Schreiner. Our mission is to renew hope, rebuild health, and revive your God-given potential through the 5 essentials of health. This week, we're going to tackle stress, sugar, and inflammation. It's timely. It's that time of year. We have gone through Halloween. We've gone through Thanksgiving. We're going to go to Christmas, and then we're going to go to New Year. More people are diagnosed with cancer, heart disease, just chronic stress, inflammation this time of year than before. So on this episode, we're going to discuss nutrition, exercise, and some mindset tips to get you through the holiday season healthy. Enjoy the episode. All right, so let's get into it. Stress, sugar, and inflammation. Research says that 3 out of 4 people have stress that impacts their mental health. Diabetes is the fastest growing chronic disease in the world. And stress and sugar are direct paths to chronic inflammation. The National Institute of Health, which is, arguably one of the more reputable scientific databases when it comes to health, says that every single chronic illness known to mankind can be linked back to inflammation. And inflammation not only makes your joints hurt, it can cause depression. It can even cause atherosclerotic plaque in your heart. And it can even cause cancer to double in the matter from Halloween to New Year's. So it is a big deal, and we're going to dive into it. I get a lot of people that ask, Dr. B, Revive Chiropractic, you guys are chiropractors. Like, what gives you the foundation or the knowledge to talk about nutrition and fitness and exercise? I mean, you're a chiropractor. Like, shouldn't you be just focusing on, adjusting the back? Well, a chiropractor is a doctor of cause. Our schooling is on physiology. We don't get the opportunity to give somebody a pill or a shot. Like, we have to work with the body, and we have to figure out what the root cause of the problem is, and then begin to give the body what it needs to become healthy. I always tell patients that the body needs no help, just no interference. And the problem is that we have so much interference in the world we're living in today that it's really, really difficult to be healthy. And so as a chiropractor at Revive, like, our job is to teach you how to have a proper mindset. Really, like, what is health? Like, that's an amazing question that I think all of us should ask ourselves. Like, what does it mean to be healthy? What are the steps necessary to do that? What do healthy people do that unhealthy people don't do? And I think the bigger question we have to ask is our medical system currently equipped to bring health to you and your family? And I would argue that it's not. Like, it's not a healthcare system. It is a sick care system based upon, hey, I'm going to wait till you get sick. I'm going to wait for you to get heart disease. I'm going to wait for you to get cancer. I'm going to wait for you to have a polyp in your colon. I'm going to wait for you to be depressed. Then I'm going to give you things to try to treat the symptom. And our whole entire basis at Revive is about cause-driven healthcare. And I'll just give you some statistics to prove that our medical system has failed us when it comes to health, when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to preventative strategies to becoming healthy. Under the CDC's direction, currently, we have one of the highest infant mortality rates in all industrialized nations. Like, you think that would be crazy that we have all these systems and all these, gadgets, and we have all the, the technology. I mean, we have the highest infant mortality rate. More kids, babies die in the hospital in the U.S. than any other industrialized country. Almost half of children have at least one chronic disease diagnosis. Pediatric cancer is the leading cause of death outside of accidents. 1 in 7 children are on an antipsychotic drug. 1 in 6 children have a learning disability. 1 in 12 suffer from asthma. 1 in 5 are diagnosed with an emotional, mental, or behavioral disorder. 1 in 5 are obese in this country. 1 in 13 have allergies, and this is even more shocking to me. 1 in 34 children today will be diagnosed with autism. Now, I'm 40 years old. I turned 40. I'll be 41 this year. So I wouldn't consider myself super old. But I don't remember many people in my high school graduating class back in 2002 that had a massive learning disability, that I knew was on a medication for depression or anxiety, that was on a medication for or had autism. Like even in the school that I was in, I just really couldn't fathom 1 in 36 people in my class. I mean, out of a graduating class of 250 people, I mean, that's multiple individuals in my class that had that, and it just wasn't there. And some would say, well, we have better diagnostics. I would say that our environment is more toxic than our kids today are more toxic than they ever have before. Gut issues, dysbiosis, more medications. I just read an article the other day that the CDC just came out 2025 vaccine schedule. 0 to 12 months, a child will be recommended to get 26 vaccines before the age of 1. And if you're listening to this and you have grandparents that are over the age of 70, they had maybe 5 different shots. Most of them survived measles. Most of them survived mumps. They're tough as nails, and their immune system is tougher. I mean, it's like that uncle at Thanksgiving that regardless of how much he drinks, how much he smokes, you can't kill him. Kids today, because of how poor our health is, like the wind blows wrong and they have some type of crazy thing going on with their skin or allergy. So we've got to do something radically different, or maybe just redefine what it means to be healthy. And that does not come in a pill, shot, potion, or lotion. So I want to start with this. Proverbs 13:12, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. You know, I get it. You know, there's not a lot of hope out there. You go to the doctor, you've got this life-threatening disease, diabetes, you know, chronic illness, heart disease. I talk to patients every single day that come in the office. My doctor says, hey, if I don't take this medication, I'm going to die. If I don't do this, or if you don't, you know, give this to your child. I just talked to somebody this morning, a pastor this morning, that basically said, if you don't give your child formula, then they're going to be unhealthy. And he chose to do the different route. And because of that, all the allergies are gone. And so, you know, but it says here, a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Like when you're given hope, and you're given a plan, and you're given a course of action, health in your life can become like a tree of life that blossoms, that grows, that flourishes. And so seek after a doctor of cause, and seek after somebody who's going to give you hope and trust in the power that God put in your body. A quick little story here before we kind of dive into some, you know, into the weeds, and when it comes to just, you know, the holidays and stress. I got a lot of really cool stuff for you. I want to talk about a quick testimonial just of somebody that I'm super proud of in the office. And, you know, this gentleman is a good friend of mine. He's been a patient for a long time, him and his wife. He comes to my men's workout and Bible studies. You know, Carl, I believe, was one of those guys that was really just, you know, stuck on that kind of like yo-yo dieting kind of thing. And, you know, just like most people, really got caught up in the holidays traveling. And Carl was over 300 pounds when he came into our office. He had all kinds of inflammation. His joints hurt. His spine felt like someone was stabbing it with a pickaxe. You know, he had, you know, kind of a foot knee issue, and it was inflamed. He was very overweight. You know, even blood pressure, cholesterol, just kind of all those things were kind of borderline. And when he came into our clinic, I looked at him and I said, listen, we've got to turn some things around. We got to start taking the inflammation out of your body. We started adjusting him, walking him through a spinal rehabilitation protocol, obviously, to get his spine back in the right position. We changed his diet. He went through our big nutrition challenge that we do every single year. We started getting him on good supplementation. He started exercising. And I think more important, I just gave him hope. I just said, listen, Carl, like, this is not the way that God created your body to be. You were not born, you know, sick, fat, and nearly dead, basically. Like, this is a choice. You chose to get here, and you can choose to move away. And Carl lost over 100 pounds. You know, he's comes into our office every couple weeks, gets adjusted. He's always got a smile on his face. Like he goes through struggles and seasons just like anybody else. But I'm here to tell you that he'll never go back to where he was before, because he feels and he understands for the first time what it truly means to be healthy. And so, you know, that same story could be you. the impact of the holiday sugar or just stress overload. This was a study that was done back in 2010. During the holidays, people gain weight about 500% more per week than any other time during the year. So during the holidays, and that's, like I said, that is October to January. And then that doesn't even include birthday celebrations. That doesn't even include vacations. Like when you think about all the opportunities that we have to have sugar, stress, and inflammation, it's more than just the holidays. But a 500% more weight increase during the holidays. It's almost kind of like, hey, it's the holiday season, and so therefore we have a fast pass to sugar, lack of sleep, stress, and alcohol. I get it. I sometimes fall stress to that too. We're traveling to Thanksgiving, and we're driving, 3.5 hours to Detroit, and my family opens up the front door, and they're like, "Hey, how was the trip?" And I said, "How do you think the trip was? I've got 4 kids in the car. 3 of them are trying to kill each other. Like, where's my glass of bourbon?" Right? I mean, I get it. It's a stressful time, but there are things that we have to do, some solid yellow lines that we have to do in order to be able to prevent these massive bombs from going off. And it's not just sugar, right? I mean, someone would say, "Well, Dr. B, I don't eat sugar. I don't eat the Peeps anymore at Halloween. I don't eat the Cadbury eggs. Like I don't do the sugar cookies anymore." Well, I mean, there are other things that can cause a spike in blood sugar, and somebody who is pre-diabetic can easily become diabetic just over the holiday season. And you would maybe never ever have to put a piece of chocolate in your mouth, but what about all the grains? Like what about all the processed foods? Those things can just as easily turn into sugar and inflammation inside the body, just like a Snickers bar. Actually, that study was done. I don't know if you remember Dr. Oz. I feel like Dr. Oz kind of fell by the wayside there a few years ago, but he actually did a study where he had women come in and he tracked their blood sugar. So he actually had those women have their fasting blood sugar and then eat a Snickers, right? And then 12 hours later or 24 hours later, he took those same women, did their fasting glucose blood sugar, and then had them eat a piece of whole wheat bread. And which one do you think caused their blood sugar to spike higher? Well, of course, the Snickers bar, but the whole wheat bread wasn't far behind, right? And so what we learned from that particular study was that you don't have, just because you're not eating ice cream, just because you're not slamming, drumsticks and chocolate cake during Christmas, 5 or 6 rolls, a piece of cake, and just all these different massive amounts of food can create a ton of blood sugar problems, which therefore can lead to a ton of inflammation. So we've got to make sure that we watch that. From a scientific standpoint, sugar fuels inflammation through a process called ages. We talked about this in some of the previous episodes when it comes to aging, right? So ages it causes aging. I just had a gentleman in the office the other day say, "Hey, Dr. B, can you help me with the bags under my eyes and my crow's feet on my face?" And I said, "Stop eating toxic food and exercise. Like you have a detoxification problem and you're putting crappy fuel inside your car, and therefore you're getting massive amounts of accelerated glycolytic end products." And what these are is that these are proteins that will break down, and that affects the collagen in your skin. This is the person that's like, "Wow, my skin's so saggy and I've got all these wrinkles all over my face and my joints hurt." That is because of sugar, or anything that would actually turn into sugar, fuels inflammation and therefore cause accelerated glycolytic end products. Even further than that, people say, "Well, my cholesterol's high," so my doctor said, "Hey, stay away from the ham and the red meat, pass on the ribeye on Christmas Day. Stick to the vegetables." And I would actually say the opposite. I would say that, hey, good quality food and grass-fed beef is actually really good. But if I'm going to consume a ton of sugar and complex carbohydrates, that's going to spike blood sugar. That's going to spike inflammation. And actually inside the arterial walls itself, you've got cholesterol that lines the artery. Cholesterol is not the demon, but it's the inflammation that causes the oxidation of cholesterol that causes cholesterol to harden. And therefore, if I don't fix the sugar and the massive amounts of inflammation, I can put that person on 10 different cholesterol medications, but I'll never take inflammation out of the body. And therefore, I'll still have a heart attack, even though my cholesterol is normal. So sugar fuels inflammation. Inflammation drives this process called accelerated glycolytic end products, which therefore can lead to numerous diseases, such as heart disease, blood sugar, occluded arteries, increased pressure in the brain, and even organ failure. And so we've got to make sure that we clean that up. The other thing, that I want to, really just touch base on, because I think the big thing that, you get during the holidays is, yes, we get increased weight gain. We get a lot of stress, but our immune systems just massively plummet. I can't tell you how many people have come into my clinic over the last, 2 or 3 weeks, and it's already starting to catch up to people. Hey, I can't come in. I'm just not feeling well. I've got lung issues. I've got, the green boogery gunk coming out of my mouth, the bacterial infections. I've got a respiratory infection. I'm not sleeping. I'm sneezing all over the place. Like it's an immune system breakdown. And so sugar plays a key role in that. Exercise, mindset, nervous system. We're going to talk about it, but I want to talk about like why a balanced immune system is so important, and how food and the 5 essentials can help you. So a balanced immune system equals optimal effectiveness, right? So you've got like basically different types of You've got this sympathetic response in your body, kind of like fight or flight, and then you've got this parasympathetic response inside your body, kind of like rest and digest, right? And so if you're out of balance in those categories, your immune system is going to go into massive overdrive, which is what we call immune overreaction, or you're going to go into what we call immune under reaction. And so this is not like random chance. Like you didn't wake up and you're like, well, I just get sick more than other people. Like there's a reason why your body is responding in the way that it's responding. And so, for instance, a couple of examples of an immune system overreaction, which means that you're constantly putting stuff inside your body that's triggering your immune system go on. You're constantly exposing yourself to things that's causing your body to always have to be in fight or flight. This is kind of what we saw with the COVID-19 shot, where, the messenger RNA kind of basically you put Ray Lewis inside the immune system. And so every little bug or every little thing that was you were exposed to, your body went into this like kind of overreaction. And we saw a lot of people struggling with their health after they had that because their body has an innate immune system, and that was kind of turned off. And so internal threats, autoimmune problems, right? So I've got an overactive immune system. I'm stressed. I'm tired. I'm not working out. I'm on a ton of different medications, but I'm still putting all these different things. My body's in overdrive. These are autoimmune problems. This is things like Hashimoto's, thyroid issues, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, inflammatory bowel disease, and type 1 diabetes. This is an internal threat in the body that's an overreactive immune system. And then we have like an external threat, like something from the external that's coming in and our body is overreacting to it. These are food sensitivities, these are allergies, these are eczema, this is asthma, and this is like sinusitis. So I've got an overactive immune system. It's always turned on. It can't rest. And then an external threat comes in like dairy or gluten. And yes, we should be able to break those down. But if you have an overreactive immune system or like a leaky gut that's always causing you to go in inflammation, you're going to have a food sensitivity. You're going to have eczema. This is the person that just, you've talked to that person. It's like, I've got psoriasis or eczema all over my body. And we've got amazing stories in our clinic of people that have calmed down the immune system by healing the gut and doing things like that. And they can have foods and their skin is completely clear. Your skin is not a skin issue. Your skin is an internal overreaction gut problem. And whenever you expose an external threat, you're going to have a massive blow up with your skin. And then we go into like an underactive immune system. and an internal threat from an underactive immune system. So, hey, I've got these internal issues, and my immune system just says, you know what? I've been working so hard for so long. Now I'm done with you. Like, I just can't take this anymore. You have basically destroyed me, my gut, and now I'm just like, I just can't take it anymore. This is cancer. This is hepatitis. This is HIV. This is shingles. This is tuberculosis. And then an external threat of an underactive immune system would be bacteria, mold, fungus, parasites, viruses. Like, hey, I can't, I'm so beat down as a body. And you keep forcing me to do all these things, but you're not changing the environment at which I'm in. My immune system your immune system can't take it anymore. I'm done with you. Therefore, viruses and colds and bacteria you keep getting sick. So the goal here is creating balance. How do we do that? We're going to do that in 3 different ways. So there are 3 different types of interferences. And like I said before, your body needs no help, just no interference. Now, there are multiple types of interferences, and I've said this to chiropractors. There's more to interference than just a physical issue with the spine shifting out of place. In my office, I will tell you that, our goal is to remove physical interference from the nervous system, which I'll talk about. But if you have other interferences like chemical, if you've got emotional interferences, if you're going through a ton of stress, a work issue, your kid's not sleeping, and then you're swinging by McDonald's and slugging big gulps, and you're just eating a ton of sugar, like, you're going to have a massive problem. So I could adjust one of those, or I could begin to adjust all those, and we want to begin to attack all of them. So there's physical, and those are, hey, I've literally have issues with the structure of my spine that's creating chemical or neurological interferences. I've been sitting at a desk all day, or I did the turkey bowl, during Thanksgiving, and I threw my back out. Like, there are physical things. Or, hey, I was in the gym working out. Or physical micro trauma, like sitting over top of a computer for 30, 40 hours at a time editing things. It's like you're going to create physical micro trauma. And then there's the emotional issues that can create inflammation and just stress. They're during the holidays, the expectations of family. Hey, I need you to be here at this time. If you're not here, then I'm mad because why didn't you like the food? Why, hey, your uncle was really looking forward to seeing you, hadn't seen you in a while. The kids are screaming in the back. It's like, hey, how was your trip? It was fantastic. Like, it's a stressful time of the year, right? And it should be a very joyous, it should be a very happy time of the year, especially if we understand what it represents. However, emotions can get the best of us and create stress and inflammation. And then when we're physically hurt, and then we're emotionally stressed, nobody craves a steak and broccoli. Everybody always is going to say, I want Cane's chicken with the cane sauce. Give me 3 or 4 beers. Give me, a half a bottle of bourbon. I'm just stressed, and that's what's going to ease the pain. And that's where we really start to get into some big issues. So in our office, we attack these 3 things through the 5 essentials, right? So if you're a patient, these. If you're listening online, there are 5 essentials to health. There's mindset. As a man thinketh, so is he. So where does health come from? Does a pill, shot, or medication make you healthy? I would argue and say no. If you think that just because you don't have cancer, heart disease, and diabetes, you're healthy, that doesn't mean that you're healthy. That just means that you have an absence of a disease. Health is about preventative measures, doing the right thing on a consistent basis to prevent disease from happening. And then there's the nervous system. Your nervous system controls and coordinates every cell function in your body. And so a dysfunctional or dysregulated nervous system or output of your brain to the rest of your body can create disease and dysfunction to the organs on the other side. It can create pain. And it's the circuit breaker of the body. So why would we ever want to ignore the one system that controls all the other systems? And then there's nutrition. There's food by God. There's food by man. It's a very simple thing, but yet we overcomplicate it. There's a ton of different things out there, but we've got to stay away from the complex carbohydrates, the sugars. We got to go towards more good quality fuel sources, because let thy food be thy medicine. And then there's exercise. Exercise is an amazing way to detox. It's an amazing way to move and to de-inflame the joints. But if you're so hurt and you're so broke down that you can't exercise, like that's where chiropractic and some of these other things can help you get back on your feet. And I've actually found that people that don't exercise, like it actually is way more effective to exercise on brain health and depression than medication ever will be. And then there's the fifth essential, which is just minimizing toxins, right? So your deodorant, your skincare, your toothpaste, all these different things that you're putting on your body on a regular basis, like do add up. I mean, if you're a female, an average female walks around with about 475 different chemicals on their body at any one time, which is why women have a lot of estrogen-based cancers. Men, we don't wear makeup, right? Or at least we shouldn't. So we don't have to deal with some of the chemical stressors that women have to. So we do have access to, we are accessible to those things too. But I'm just telling you, watch what you're putting on your body or what you're consuming, your water, things like that, because what you consume or what you put on your body on a daily basis, it's not going to hurt you if you do that for a week, but it will hurt you if you do that for a decade, right? And so I want to talk about some social strategies, right? So what are some things that we can be doing this holiday season to really begin to, manage or make it through the holidays healthy? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm going to tell you that you're going to make it through the holidays healthier than what you did when you started. I mean, I can't tell you that because I'd be a hypocrite if I told you that I was healthier after the holidays than before. Now, I'm never going to go off the deep end and go eat Jets Pizza and drink a Busch Light. Like there are things that I do that I'll just never sacrifice ever again. But the stress and the emotional side of things, like sometimes we just have to get through it, and we have to have some coping mechanisms to get through it. So a few things just to think about when it comes to just, hey, I'm preparing myself for, Christmas. I'm preparing myself for a New Year's Eve celebration. What do I do? Number one, don't go to an event hungry. One of the worst things you could ever do is go to an event hungry. So listen, if I don't have an opportunity to cook Thanksgiving and I'm going somewhere, number one is I will get a really good exercise in the morning to improve my blood sugar levels, and I might have a little something to eat before I go there, and I really will be picky about what it is that I'm eating, right? Now, don't disappoint grandma and grandpa. Like sometimes you just got to make sacrifices, and the workout before you go to Thanksgiving or Christmas will really help you in that digestive system process or that metabolic process of digesting, grandma's not so healthy cookies. Number two is just plan ahead. And this is like this thing. Failing to plan is planning to fail, right? So, if your kids have food allergies, if you have some type of a nutritional, dietary restrictions that you're dealing with, like it is not rude to say, hey, listen, my kids are allergic to dairy. Will there be gluten-free dairy? Like, will there be dairy-free mashed potatoes there? Like, that's a question that my kids will ask me. Dad, are they going to have mashed potatoes that don't have dairy in them? Well, we've got to plan ahead, and we've got to see if grandma's going to do that. Like, my mom's awesome. She's always got, sweet potato mash and dairy-free mashed potatoes, right? And my kids don't know the difference, and I'll be honest with you, my uncles that may not necessarily agree with, or aunts or whoever that, like, kind of, oh, yeah, you and that gluten-free, dairy-free stuff, like, blah, 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 like, give me all the bad stuff, and then I kind of sneak the dairy-free mashed potatoes on their plate, and then when they eat it, like they don't know the difference, and the only way they complain about it is when they know it's dairy or gluten-free. It's always funny. They don't really know the difference. Like this kind of food can actually taste pretty good. And then just bring a healthy dish, right? So, hey, if it's not going to be there, hey, you know what? There are some dietary restrictions that we have in our family. Our kids are allergic to this, this, and this. And so, hey, let me volunteer. I'll bring a few things. If nobody else wants to eat it, great, but at least our kids will have something that we can be healthy and happy with. And then, like I said this before, exercise is vital. My wife and I and my kids, we get up, we do Christmas thing, and then we do the 12 days of Christmas, the CrossFit workout as a family. On the first day of Christmas, blah, 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 second day of Christmas. So like it's a really fun thing that we do with our family. And what that does is that gets us ready because yes, my kids are going to have some healthier sugar alternatives in the stocking. We're going to go somewhere and they might get something, grandma might sneak them something under the table, whatever. And they're going to be sitting in a car or they're going to be doing something that isn't like in our regular routine. And so exercising is a great way to kind of increase that brain-derived neurotropic factor in the brain. It's going to help calm and focus. It's also going to help regulate blood sugar so that way you don't have crazy chaotic children that act like maniacs for the rest of the day. And you as a parent and me as a father who really exercises more of an emotional, mental thing than anything, I can actually be good to go and ready to take on chaos because I've got my workout. I've like taken my aggression out on the kettlebell and, just, whatever in the morning. So it's a really, really, really important thing to do. Let's talk about diet a little bit and just some specifics when it comes to nutrition. The number one thing that I will tell you during the holiday season is like fix breakfast first. Breakfast is not the most important meal of the day. Kellogg's like completely pulled the rug out from underneath us. Multi-billion-dollar company. Kellogg's, hey, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Eat my, whatever cereal in the morning. One of the worst things you could ever do. Because ultimately we're hunters and gatherers, and oftentimes we didn't have food in the morning. We fasted until we had to kill something. But the breakfast is more, if you break the word down, it says break fast, right? So we're supposed to be kind of fasting, from 7, 8 o'clock at night all the way back around. And so your first meal of the day is the most important meal of the day, and it's not always breakfast. Now, hey, you got to get on the road early. What does that look like? Maybe it's a protein shake. Maybe you, prepare some, pasture-raised eggs with some spinach and some, really good vegetables, and you put them in like a cookie baking pan, and you have those ready for the morning. But you like no sugar, complex carbohydrates, really good protein, really good fats, quality food in the morning is going to allow your blood sugar to stay stable. It's also going to be great for the brain, because if you're trying to have those like really complex conversations with your family about president and election and all these different types of things, and you want to stay on, you don't want to start your morning with a bowl of Fruity Pebbles and slug down 4 cups of coffee, because you're going to pass out by noon, right? So we want to make sure that we really get the first meal of the day, and that break fast is super, super important. When it comes to just nutrition, we really want to focus on somewhat of an anti-inflammatory program. We have nutritional plans in the office that we put our patients on. We've got challenges that what we do. I would just tell you that during the holiday season, if you're going to veg out on something like the fruit and vegetable tray, eat as much turkey and ham and steak as you can, but really begin to stay away or minimize the complex carbohydrates, the sugars, things like that, right? If you're going to have a cookie, drink a glass of water before you go to the cookie jar, right? I mean, do some things necessary, but I have no problem with my kids having 3 or 4 helpings of turkey. I have no problems with my kids having, an extra scoop of sweet potato mash, salad. My kids, that's the way they grew up. Like, that's the way their daddy eats. That's the way their mommy eats. So my kids are some of the only kids that go to the vegetable tray and will eat the cauliflower, right? My kids just love cauliflower. And so let them eat as much of that, but let them indulge into some things, obviously. Understand that it may affect their belly, which is a great teaching tool for them personally. Sometimes the greatest teaching tool in the world is allowing them to do something and fail, and then explaining to them as to why it is they feel the way that they feel, versus sheltering them and saying, hey, don't ever watch that, don't ever eat that. Because what I see happening is that if you live in a house where you're not allowed to do anything, as soon as you're 18 years old, your kids are going to eat Cane's chicken for like a month straight. So we have to make sure that we really begin to have some healthy boundaries. And like I said, I'm a sweets guy. I will volunteer to bring sweets to Christmas and Thanksgiving. I love to host because of that. A really good option for a workout smoothie. We call it the Warrior Smoothie. You can take some 1 to 2 cups of like unsweetened coconut milk, or really whatever can make the smoothie good for the consistency that you like. 1 frozen, like an organic banana, a cup of frozen blueberries. I love the Valencia peanut butter from Costco, a scoop of like grass-fed whey or bone broth protein, and like a scoop of greens. So a banana, blueberries, peanut butter, a scoop of protein, a scoop of greens, and like some unsweetened coconut milk. Or if you're not allergic to milk, or you don't have a belly issue, maybe it's some grass-fed A2 milk. or coconut milk. And really, that just really gives it that creaminess. Like, that is a great way to start your day. You go get through the 12 days of Christmas. You go do it's January 1st. It's like, hey, I'm starting the year off on the right foot. I had a little bit to drink the night before. I'm going to get up in the morning. I'm going to sweat it out, and I'm going to have an awesome warrior smoothie to start the year off right. The other thing that you want to make sure that we're doing in the morning is, if we know that we're going to be involved in, just an altered schedule. We're going to be exposed to foods that we really don't know exactly what's in it. We don't really know exactly, what grandma put in that. Like, she said it was gluten-free, but sometimes gluten-free cannot be the greatest either, right? So, we don't really know, what the aunt made with the cookies. She said they were dairy-free, but I don't know, right? So we want to make sure that we're prepared, right? And supplementation, I think, is super important all the time, but especially during the holidays, because it gets dark at 5:30. We're not getting any sunlight. Our immune systems are just crazy. We're trying to catch up on work. We're staring at a computer 90% of our lives, and then we're on our phone checking the dings for when we need to arrive for Christmas Day. And so it's just very, very chaotic. So there's a few things that I would tell you that you need to make sure that you have in your diet or supplementation that are very, very important to make sure your gut and those inflammation levels are taken care of. Number one is a good quality probiotic. The next one would be vitamin D3. The other one would be an omega-3 fatty acid, magnesium glycinate, and then also like a B vitamin, right? So those are the 5 things that I would tell you that are going to drastically affect your metabolism, your blood sugar, but then also your gut microbiome. So once again, that is a good spore-forming quality probiotic for gut health. An omega-3 fatty acid, which is an anti-inflammatory like fish oil. A vitamin D3, right, which is an immune system booster. And then you've got magnesium glycinate. Magnesium citrate is oftentimes what you would use to like help your bowels go. Magnesium glycinate is more for like neurology and just inflammation. And then B vitamins are just really good for energy production. You've got a citric acid cycle within your body. And so B vitamins are a main like pusher for adenosine triphosphate, or those 36 ATP to be pushed through that cycle. So those are the things that I would tell you to take on a regular basis, but definitely during the holidays. So let's transition into some like an emotional stuff. We talked about just where we are as a culture. We talked about what happens during the holidays. We talked about some food, some strategies. But the emotional side of things, I want to start off by saying like stress is just heightened during the holidays. 38% of people are more stressed during the holidays than ever before. And I think that's because of expectation, right? So the big thing that I want you to understand here, and my pastor, he told me this a long time ago, and I've never forgot this. And I teach it to my team. I've had conversations with my sons about this. So like your expectations, right? So the expectations and then what's actually happening, right? So you have your expectations and what's actually happening. The bigger that gap, the more frustration. The smaller that gap, the least amount of frustration. So for instance, the expectation is that you're going to arrive at grandma and grandpa's house at noon after Christmas. Well, if the expectations are that you are going to arrive at noon because we're going to have a 12:30 lunch or dinner, and you arrive at 12:45, there might be some frustration there because they were expecting you there at a certain time. So all I can tell you in that is make sure that your expectations are clear, and make sure that you have grace, and make sure that you give everybody around you grace. It is the holiday season. It's a time of joy. It's a time of redemption. It's a time of grace and being forgiven of our sins through the birth of our Savior. And so, my gosh, like give people a little bit of grace. If they're not having a great day, how can you love and how can you serve somebody? How can you be a blessing to somebody in that? I think sometimes we have so much pressure put on ourselves because the turkey's got to be great. I got to go here. I got to meet all these different expectations. And to be honest with you, it's not even really about that. The holidays are about family, but they're also about being a blessing to those who are around you. And so if you're arguing and frustrated all the time, it can be a big problem. I'll also tell you this, and this is probably not popular, but I don't, it's the truth. I think that sometimes what happens is that people fail to create boundaries in their relationship. And as you begin to have children and as you begin to progress through marriage, for all you marriage couples out there, there's all these different expectations from different sides of the family of like, hey, we're going to go here this time, we're going to go here that time. And there's never, ever really any communication together as a spouse to say, here are the boundaries that we're going to set. We're not leaving for Christmas. We're going to stay right here. If grandma and grandpa want to come to us, great. But this is what we're doing for our family. I think one of the greatest mistakes that can ever be made for a couple is to say that whenever you're married, it's the joining of two families together. That is some of the worst information and knowledge and just whatever you want to call that I think that you could get. It is not the joining of two families together. It's the joining of your family together, your values, your foundation, and therefore, and I look at it this way. Mark Driscoll said this, and I thought he hit it on the head. He said, I want to have as many meals with my kids and with my family, my wife, as possible. So that way, when my wife or when my kids get married and they just say, hey, Dad, you know what? This Thanksgiving, we're going to go to the Bahamas. We're going over here. Hey, sorry we can't make it. We love you, but this is what we decided to do. I'm not going to be mad because I had so many meals with my kids. Versus we didn't eat together as a family, and all these expectations are put on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the New Year. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes you're just never going to be able to live up to people's expectations. So anyway, there's some emotional stuff there for you to make sure they can help you with those stress levels, because stress has a massive impact on blood sugar. Research is very clear that a higher stress means more sugar. Like, remember I said, if you're stressed, you don't crave broccoli, you crave chocolate. You don't want to work out in the morning. You always hit the snooze button, and you get more stressed. And so that's where blood sugar levels really begin to become hard. And then if your blood sugar levels are high, you're going to become sleep deprived. If your blood sugar levels are high before you go to bed, you're not going to be able to hit that circadian sleep rhythm. You're not going to naturally begin to produce GABA and different things in the brain that are going to help kind of your body begin to calm down. And so if you can't sleep during the holidays or any time, you can't heal. You can't decrease inflammation. You can't decrease stress. And so you go to bed stressed, you wake up even more stressed. It's like, I think I went to sleep, but I felt like I went to sleep 5 minutes ago, and now I'm here, and I don't feel any rest whatsoever. I don't feel recovered. I got bags underneath my eyes. I'm slugging down 6 cups of coffee. You've got to get that under control. And I will tell you, if you know you're going to travel for the holidays, the week leading up to the holidays, kids get to bed at a certain time. You get to bed at a certain time. You're very, very stringent with that. You're kind of like almost preparing your body for that battle. Because if not, you could very, very easily go into massive breakdown and even like anxiety and severe depression-like type symptoms because of a lack of sleep. Exercise. And so, we talked about this as far as prepping those, but, one way to improve sleep and one way to improve, decrease inflammation and improve GABA is to make sure that you get exercise in. But I would tell you, do it in the morning because it'll help balance your blood sugar. So exercise has been researched to reduce stress and insulin sensitivity. So exercise is probably the most amazing thing that you can do. If your diet's not great and you're not sleeping very well, exercise will keep you in the game. And so I get it. Like, I didn't get much sleep last night. I didn't. I've been up all night. Like, I got to bed at 12 o'clock. I was with my cousins. We had a few drinks. Kid was up all night, peed on me. I was up at 5 a.m. this morning. There ain't no way I'm going to get some exercise in. Well, hey, go to the basement and do 50 burpees for time. Go for a walk for 30 minutes. I will guarantee you that you'll feel better. You're going to have more mental clarity, and you're not going to be as grumpy, right? Because you did that. And that's a lot because of the inflammation and the insulin sensitivity. So real quick, I think the big thing that we have to ask ourselves, and I asked this question before in the beginning, is I think medicine fails to really define, what it means to be healthy. So I'll ask you that question. Like, what does it mean to be healthy? Like, what is a great definition of health? Because all these things are great, right? Get better sleep, remove the inflammation from the body. I feel good. I look good. Like, is that health? Actually, the definition of health, according to Dorland's Medical Dictionary, 1936, says that health is a complete state of mental, physical, spiritual, emotional well being, and not just merely the absence of disease or infirmity, which basically means that just because you feel good doesn't mean you're healthy. Just because you don't have cancer doesn't mean you're healthy. Just because you look good in a bikini doesn't mean you're healthy. Just because you have six-pack abs doesn't mean you're healthy. Just because you're on no medication does not mean you're healthy. Health is not something that you can feel. But I would say healthier people feel and look good, right? But I have people that feel good and look good and then are diagnosed with cancer. Like you and I both know that person, 35-year-old mom, marathoner, and all of a sudden it's like routine mammogram, you have stage 4 cancer. Like, how does that work? It's because health is not just merely the absence of disease, and health comes from within. And I'll tell you, the reason why I love being a chiropractor is not because I get to help people become more healthy. I get to educate people about how the body works, that your body it was never made to be junky. It was beautifully and wonderfully created in God's image. And there is a power that lies within you that is capable of healing and fighting disease and cancer and diabetes and all those kind of things. But if you have interference, you and I together, we as an office have to work together as a team to remove that. And a pill or a shot or some type of a surgery from the outside in is never going to fix a problem that can be only healed from the inside out. And so, I hate the definition of Medicare, right? If anybody, I think the reason why, I always talk about insurance in the office and why if you're, hey, my insurance going to cover that? I think it's very interesting that people will say, well, if my insurance is going to cover that, then I'm all on board. And I use the example like if my son had cancer, right? If one of my boys had an illness that was just insane, I would never go to my insurance and say, hey, who's in network with my insurance company to make sure my son gets care? I'm going to make sure that my son gets the best quality care of anybody in the world. I don't care what I have to do to get it. I want to make sure I have the best quality care, regardless of whether or not my insurance is going to pay for it. So this is what Medicare's definition of health is, or what we call medical necessity. Care that seeks to prevent disease, promote health, prolong, or enhance the quality of your life is deemed not medical necessity. So basically what that means is that we're going to allow you to go the entire holiday season, cookies, stress, all these different types of things. And when you become depressed and have diabetes, we're going to pay for your medication to treat that. But we're not going to pay for your gym membership. We're not going to pay for your Whole Foods card. We're not going to pay for anything preventative up to that particular point. We're only going to wait until you have it. We're going to treat it. And then whenever the symptom is gone, then you're on your own again. And so that's what our healthcare system believes is medical necessity. So a treatment process to begin to remove interference from the body and let it heal naturally, like insurance companies don't even look at that as health. And so it's a very, very frustrating thing. And so, where does health come from? I said health comes from within. Your nervous system controls everything. This is where, I will tell you as a patient, I will tell you as a listener that if you're under chiropractic care, this is not the time of the year where you want to skip a chiropractic adjustment. This is not the time of year where it's like, hey, I'm too busy. I've got shopping. I've got everything to do. Hey, I'm just going to go ahead and pass my chiropractor, and I'm going to go ahead and just, I'll take more supplements. I'll get a workout in. The nervous system controls everything. Like, this is where chiropractic is not a belief system. I love that. Someone's like, I don't know if I believe in that whole chiropractic thing. Well, I said, well, hey, jump off a roof onto your skull, and then your skull goes into your brain, and tell me whether or not you believe there's a nervous system in there. Because If you were to do that, you're going to lose all the feelings in your arms and your legs, and you're going to be a quadriplegic because the nervous system controls all these different types of things. And so your brain up here sends a message down your spinal cord, out the nerves to all the cells, tissues, and organs in your body. It controls your heart, your lungs, your digestive system, your thyroid. It controls and tells your brain, hey, take your hand off the hot stove during Christmas for the Christmas ham. Like, do that. If there's any kind of interference in that system, it's going to create dis-ease or dysfunction to the organs on the other side. And yes, it can create and affect your blood sugar. It can create inflammation. They're doing a ton of research right now where they're saying that the brainstem, so irritation at the brainstem, which is basically at the top of the back of the neck, where so many of you who are listening are having pain or headaches or tension, that particular area is under a lot of research right now about how it affects inflammation in your gut and throughout the entire body. And the crazy thing right now is that pharmaceutical companies are coming up with a device that they'll insert into the base of your brain. You can press a button. It'll stimulate your brainstem to make your digestive system and the aches and pains of your body go down. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but if I had the choice of picking between a $10,000 surgery insertion of a device into the back of my head and then paying for a regular chiropractic adjustment, I would pay for the adjustment. A lot safer, and I don't want some type of machine put in my body. But that, like I said, that's pharmaceutical way of prevention, right? Like here's a drug that you are going to take to prevent. Here's a surgical tool that will put in your body to prevent you from having these issues, when really it's an inside out game. The spine protects everything, and so if the spine is shifted, or hey, you're out there shoveling the driveway over Christmas and it's like, oh man, I hurt my back, and then all of a sudden, man, I can't go to the bathroom and I can't digest my food. Your spine protects the nervous system, and your nervous system sends information and signals to all those vital cells, tissues, and organs. So this is not the time of the year to have a bad back. This is not the time of the year for your back to go out. Nothing hurts me more than a dad who, hey, I wish I could go outside and play Nerf gun wars with my kid's new Nerf gun, but I can't because my back hurts. Like, your spine is basically the chassis or the frame of your car, and if the frame of your car is twisted, your tires are going to wear bad. You're just going to get horrible gas mileage. And so a chiropractor, or a spinal correction chiropractor specifically, is geared towards taking those bones, repositioning them so that way the body can naturally begin to heal and function at maximum capacity. And then guess what we do? We make sure we get you good food. We make sure your mindset's good. We help you with your exercise. We help you with your detoxification protocols. And when we have all of those things together, now we have a winning process. We have a process that is not looked at by medicine as medical necessity. Like they don't look at those things as a medical necessity, only when you have a severe problem. But I'm telling you, those 5 things that we talked about today, if you were begin to slowly implement those things into your life, not one, but all of them, and over a consistent basis, I can guarantee you that you're going to see massive changes over the course of your life. I just had a patient come in the other day, and her and her son have been coming in. Her son couldn't go to the bathroom. Like he couldn't go to the bathroom, and they were taking him to doctor, and his diet was crap. And the doctors kept just saying, hey, give him more of the positories and the Miralax, all these different types of things. And we set the mom and dad down, and I said, listen, God does not create junk. There's a power inside this little boy's body. He does not need to be on medication for the rest of his life. He's not paying attention. He's not focusing in class because he can't poop. His gut's destroyed. We start adjusting this little boy. He starts going to the bathroom normally. He starts focusing again. This is a completely different kid. I mean, he can actually go to a friend's house without feeling like he's going to poop his pants, right? I mean, what an amazing feeling. And that was because we removed interference, and then we gave the body what it needed to begin to heal and function. From an immune system standpoint, why is it not the time to miss a chiropractic evaluation or an adjustment during the holidays? This was an article that was done in Chiropractic and Neurology. Chiropractic patients under care for 5 years or more have been found to have a 200% greater immune system than those who did not receive chiropractic care. Now, I said 5 years or more. Like, why the heck would you want to go to a chiropractor for 5 years? And the answer to that question is because you believe in prevention, because you have chosen to use prevention and chiropractic and a wellness way of life, a vitalistic way of life as your foundation for health and healing. I have basically said the only way I'm going to go to medicine is if I need to get something sewed back on or it's an emergency. Everything else I'm taking under the hands of prevention and wellness. And when you're under chiropractic care, your nervous system, there's a lot of research right now talking about the nervous system and how it plays a huge impact in the immune system and the gut. You just make better choices. Like people in the office that have been with me for 10, 12 years, they just make better choices because they're constantly exposed to an environment of wellness and prevention. If you weren't exposed to that and you didn't grow up around that, you're automatically going to go to an antibiotic or go to a steroid shot because you don't know any different. And so chiropractic patients, 200%, 50% would be good, but 200% is just crazy. I get it all the time. Hey doc, I didn't want to come in today. I didn't want to get adjusted. I felt like crap, but I'm here and oh my gosh, I feel so much better that I got adjusted. I took my supplements and I just drank some water today. It's just pretty awesome. This is an article in Science Daily talking about chronic pain changes our immune system. What they're finding is that individuals that are in chronic pain, so hey, I'm inflamed, my back has been hurting before Thanksgiving, and now my back is about ready to pop out the back of my body by Christmas. Chronic pain is actually changing your genetic makeup, which is turning on these massive immune system fighting things. It's a pretty crazy thing. They're using rat models, and they're basically saying that when they put these rats in extreme painful situations, their genetic makeup changes and their immune system goes in massive overdrive. We talked about that before. What happens when our immune system goes into overdrive? Autoimmune, Hashimoto's, rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, food sensitivities, allergies. Nothing really good happens whenever your immune system goes into overdrive. So if you're in chronic pain and you're not doing something to actually get that pain to be taken care of, and you're just masking it with cortisone shots and everything else under the planet, then you've got to find a cause-driven approach because it can have a huge impact on your immune system. As I wrap up here, just real quick story. I'll end with a story here. A good friend of mine, his name's Justin. Justin's been a patient in our clinic at Revive for well over 5 years. A great friend of mine, comes to my men's, Warrior 3 Bible study on a regular basis, and has just really become a really great friend and brother to me. And really just a really cool story. Him and his son come in, and when I first met Justin, he was very overweight. He was depressed, and he had a chronic back issue. And someone was like, well, how does, your bad back, how can that affect an inflammation, which we're talking about stress and inflammation? How can that create, overweight and stress? Well, he's a great golfer, and he's really great at it, and he loved it. And when you take me away from the things that I like to do and that I'm good at, like if you hurt my shoulder and I couldn't lift weights and I couldn't pull a bow back to go bow hunting, like I'm probably going to go into somewhat of a dark place. Like I know God loves me, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm going to be pretty angry for a while. And so this is just where he was. His back was killing him. He had tingling going down his leg. He's been everywhere, couldn't figure it out. Diet's horrible. Probably 25, 30 pounds overweight. And because of that, he's just anxious. Like he's just not in a great emotional state. Came in the office, started under chiropractic care. He has no disc in his low back. I mean, this guy's not old. I mean, he's 40-some years old. And he's got no disc in his low back. So the food, the stress, the chronic sitting, and just the lack of motion in the spine and lack of chiropractic. He's been to every other practitioner in the world besides a chiropractor, and he starts getting adjusted. He starts getting his spine stabilized. All of his pain goes away. Numbing and tingling goes away. I put him on a nutritional program. He goes through our challenge. He loses over 25 pounds. He's just a completely different human, and now his son comes in. And I say that as a dad because he's a good example for his son. And the choices that we make as parents, the way that we attack the holidays, the way that we attack sugar, the way that we make choices if we're in pain, if we just cover up the symptom versus actually find a cause-driven approach to it. Our kids are watching, and I'm just so proud of Justin and the legacy and just the impact he's making on his son. His son is coming in, gets adjusted, and we don't have to worry about Eli having any issues. So that's going to wrap up today's episode. We talked about the holidays, stress, sugar, inflammation. And so, I get it. The holidays are stressful. Do the best that you can. And just know during this holiday season that, you're not going to please everybody. God loves you. That's the reason why it is that the holiday season and Christmas is here. And don't ever forget that. Make sure you know exactly what the expectations are and understand what that is, because the bigger that gap, there's frustration. Try to do the best that you can to plan before you go anywhere. Do your best to get some movement in and really make sure that you crush that first meal of the day, that break fast, very important, your supplementation. And if you're out there and you don't have a chiropractor, go to revivechiro.com. Make a new patient appointment. We got an amazing holiday special going on right now. We'd love to check your family. If you're somewhere listening to this in other states, other countries, and you just want information on us finding you a good chiropractor, go to revivechiro.com, leave us an email, and we'll make sure that you're plugged into an office that will deliver the 5 essentials at the quality at which we give them. So until next episode, I pray you and your family have a healthy, happy, blessed holiday season. Take care.